Toy Mafia, salute my brother. What we talking today is Terrence Bud Crawford's 38th birthday. And we all know he's had an amazing career. Being that it's his birthday, I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about it. Because Crawford has been that guy who, went against the odds. He's been the underdog, been the guy that wasn't supposed to make it. He's been the nobody, and what the hell just happened? He's been the nobody, and the guy who fought nobody and beat nobody. There's always been a narrative, and politics for years made it impossible for him to get the big fights. Well, he kept pushing, kept fighting, kept being great, and he just couldn't be denied. That's just the reality. You cannot deny greatness. And Crawford put in the work, and that's it. This where it's at today. But me personally, I've been following Crawford, for more time than most people. I would say that Crawford's popularity really picked up after he beat Errol Spence. Before Errol, a lot of people in boxing knew him, but he wasn't as big of a star, and he wasn't, in the conversation. And there was a point where most people didn't know Terence Crawford. There was a point in his career where, he didn't come out of the amateurs and turn professional with a hype behind his name. He wasn't, big star, since he turned pro. No, he's a guy who was just working hard, him, Bomac, and the team they had, and they was just winning, and winning, and waiting for their opportunity. And eventually they started to get some fights, some noteworthy fights. I would say the first time that Crawford stepped in there with somebody that made people notice him. I mean, listen, every time Crawford steps in the ring, if you're watching him for the first time, you're going to be impressed, right? Because of how good he is, how skilled. But when he fought Gamboa, who at the time was undefeated and who was somebody people expected to become a world champion, some expected him to beat Crawford. And for it to play out the way that it did, it made a lot of people into believers. Like, okay, this guy's for real. But, when you look back at it, it also made people use that fight to try to discredit him. Like, oh, look, Gamboa wobble him. Gamboa wobble him. Like, instead of seeing what a good, undefeated fighter he beat, people been clinging on to that. He got wobbled by little Gamboa 130. They've been clinging on to that line for over 10 years. For over 10 years. But his win over Gamboa, elevated his stock. And it made people notice, like, okay, this guy can fight. This guy's for real. And after that, he just started getting more known, more famous. Him and Bomac, people started taking note. People started seeing, okay, this guy's special. This guy can fight. So look at Terence Crawford right there with Russell Westbrook, chilling. People started taking notice that this guy can fight. And I tell you what, this is when he fought Postal. That's Postal right there. Postal is one of those opponents at the time he was undefeated, good fighter. And again, he wasn't a famous guy, wasn't a big name. So Crawford didn't get any credit for that fight. He was like, hey, yeah, you beat a nobody. That would become a constant narrative around his name, that he didn't beat nobody. Sharia Thakur, sir, give some tips on boxing. I'm sorry, brother, but this ain't the time for me giving no tips. I would say some tips I could give you. Google those same words. Tips for boxing. But again, my peoples, you can see that Terence Crawford, at the time he fought Victor Postol, it was two undefeated fighters who stepped in the ring, and he absolutely handled business. Got no credit. Got that WBC belt. Didn't really get no credit. And it was one of those performances. And look, this is one thing that I tell people about Terence Crawford. It's not just about how good he is of a basketball player, because I always hear that he's nice, but how athletic he is. His athleticism. He be hooping, and he don't just go there to shoot. He go there to win, to cross you over, to make buckets on you. There you go. You see the Ring Magazine belt, which Crawford has held in multiple divisions. There he goes with the Nebraska Cornhuskers, which, by the way, he actually he actually was at one of their games recently, and he walked them out. You go, you see Crawford fishing, playing basketball. That's one thing I know about Crawford, is that he loves to go fishing when he has time, which is rare when he does, but he likes to go fishing. I've seen him do that a lot. Look at his kids. That's another thing, my people. Look. Terence Crawford is not just somebody who's being great inside the ring. He's being great outside the ring. Take care of his family, take care of his kids, and not just take care of them. You see that he's a hands-on father. You see that he's with them. He's at their tournament. He's, any time that he has outside of preparing himself, you see him with his kids. You see him with his family man. You see him in training. Look at young Terence Crawford right there. That's the one thing, my people. Terence Crawford always, and he said in a recent interview, man, that no matter what he was doing, he always made it to the gym. Look at this. With Boozy. That's the one thing, my people. Discipline. You can have the talent. It don't matter how much talent you have. If the discipline is not there, you're not gonna be great. Whatever it is that you're doing, you're not gonna be great if the discipline ain't there. Look at his son, man, first place. Again, look with his kids, with his moms. So Crawford been showing that he's great inside and outside the ring, and people still don't give him credit, don't give him that love that he deserved. Look at his son with the WBC strap. That's when he beat. Look at Posto. Look at the destruction of Posto. Put all type of hands on him. All type of hands of Posto. All type of hands. So people don't realize, that Crawford has been putting together special performances, and they won't give him credit. Look at Tim Bradley. I don't know if you heard Bradley tell the story that Terence Crawford actually went to spar with him. He was preparing, I don't remember for what fight, and Crawford went, as a sparring partner. And he said that Crawford absolutely smoked him in sparring. He was like, "What? You ain't no sparring partner, B. What's..." Like, he realized this dude can fight. And at that time, you have to understand, Bradley had already been all the way to the top, had already fought for titles, and Crawford, nobody even knew who he was. Put the beats on Bradley in sparring. Check this out. This is right around the time that I started following Crawford, my people. That's how he looked. I remember he had the short bread. Well, it was short. It was actually shorter. He had the short cornrows and shit. But there you have it, my peoples. You can see. And what I want you guys to notice, look at Crawford with Julio Cesar Chavez, is that you will never see. By the way, my peoples, this is Terence Crawford's Instagram. You will never see an image of a fat Terence Crawford. You'll never see an image of an out of shape Terence Crawford. There goes Bud with Spike Lee, with Warren Buffett. So you can see that Terrence, he's already at this point his star power is going up. People are already recognizing him. Look at Crawford right there, young bud. So my peoples, if you just tuning in right now, I'm just going over some of Terrence Crawford's career highlights. He turning 38 years old today. Right now, we gotta admit it, he's the face of boxing. So showing him some love on his birthday, y'all. Flip, my brother, why you up so early? I got things to do, my G. I got things to do. We grinding out here. Again, my peoples, in Terrence Crawford's career, throughout this whole time, you're seeing him accomplishing, you're seeing him winning, and yet he being hated on. At this point, this guy's already a world champion, a unified champion, and people acting like he a nobody. Look, right here. This guy's name, Juan Diaz, Jose Diaz, I can't remember his name, but this dude right here, undefeated fighter. No, he had one loss, an Olympic gold medalist. Olympic gold medalist, my peoples. You see Crawford in training camp. Oh, you see Bomac. Bomac a strong dude. Don't get it twisted. See training camp again, my peoples. You never see Terrence Crawford out of shape, bro. Terrence Crawford always. And I want you guys to consider this. Always think about this when you're assessing fighters. A fighter like Crawford, when he goes into training camp, guess what? He don't spend a lot of time trying to lose weight. He don't spend a lot of time trying to cut weight. He spent a lot of time working on his craft. There's Crawford with Sean Porter, Damian Lillard. Look, I told you, Crawford love fishing. He don't have to spend a lot of time trying to cut weight. He spent a lot of time working on his craft, working on his mechanics, working on the footwork, the punch placement. It's different, bro. When you have to, when you have a camp, you have to spend 5-6 weeks of that camp going hard to cut because you got to cut 30 pounds. It's a different ball game when you close you to making that way, and you make it easy because you're so athletic, and then you get to fight night super strong, super fast every single time. It's different, man. It's different. Mr. KO, does Crawford now have more accomplishments than Canelo? I wouldn't say he has more accomplishments. He has different accomplishments. So this is what I consider unique accomplishments. Terence Crawford being the only 3-division undisputed champion in history, he has a unique accomplishment that Canelo doesn't have, that Floyd doesn't have, that nobody has. He's the only guy, right? But Canelo has beaten more world champions than Terence Crawford. He's also beaten more Hall of Famers than Terence Crawford. So there's different things that you have to look at. They both have unique, accomplishments that the other doesn't have. It's just like comparing Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather. You could say, well, Floyd Mayweather went undefeated and beat this many champions. And then you could say, well, Manny Pacquiao won in 8 divisions. So it's all about, I guess, which accomplishment you want to put more weight on. But at the end of the day, man, Terrence Crawford is the face of boxing. Like, everybody just has to let that sizzle in their spirit. You see Terrence Crawford with Andre Ward fishing. It's like I told you, my peoples, you will never see an image, a video of a fat Terrence Crawford. He's always in shape, always working out, always ready, always in the gym. This guy, when he beat Canelo, he got one of the biggest wins in boxing history. And he was in the gym like a week and a half later or something like that, bro. How you back in the gym already? That quick. Wow. There's a lot of fighters out there. They win a title. They win something. Man, listen. They disappear from boxing for months. They having fun. They celebrating. They look at Bud with Snoop Dogg, with Floyd Mayweather, with Gucci Mane, with this dude, man. I can't remember his name. Oh, Chad Chad Boswick, Mr. Black Panther himself, rest in peace. See, so again, my peoples, you always see Terence Crawford, man. Like, I've been following him on social media for a long time with Kyrie Irving, and I could tell you, man, this guy's always in shape. Vasil Lomachenko, my peoples. And why do you think that Lomachenko didn't want to fight Terence Crawford? Remember, they could have made that fight if they wanted to. There was a point before Terence Crawford moved up that fight could have been made. That fight could have been made, but they know. They know what would have happened. Terence Crawford and Anthony Joshua. Mr. KO, they mad because they ain't want Canelo to lose. But if anything, at least he lost to a Mexican, not a racist shit. But that's just how they moving now. That's how it go down, man. But at the end of the day, that's it, you know. And I tell you what, just the same way that Terence Crawford started being even more hated when he beat Errol Spence, we see that now. We see that now already, where, there's going to be a lot of people who are not going to like him because they thought he was going to get knocked out. They've been telling everybody he was going to get knocked out. Look at that. Terence Crawford versus undefeated Jeff Horn walked out of there with the title. Look at that. The biggest boss, Rick Ross and Chad Boswick. 50 Cent. Come on now. Everybody rocking with Bud. Charlemagne the God, DJ Envy at Power 105. He went to the Breakfast Club too at some point. But again, my peoples, you can see that Terence Crawford is a guy with Jay Prince, with the family. Terence Crawford is a guy who, how can you knock him? What can you really, when you follow this guy, what can you really hate him for? Look at him, got Warren Buffett on a chokehold. If you follow Terence Crawford, what can you really hate him for? What has he done wrong for people to dislike him so much? Him and Bomac with a little baby crocodile. Him with Jeff Horn. I can't remember St. Pierre, I think. Can't remember the dude's name. But he's not a boxer, so that's cool. I could forget his name. Look at that shot from Terence Crawford, man. Look at him with Mom Dukes. You see Terence Crawford moms, man, when he at the fights or when he, training, a lot of the times you're going to see Mom Dukes. You're going to see her there. She been there from day one. She's still there right now. Mr. KO, they dislike him because he beat Canelo. That's going to be part of it, man. He gained a lot of haters. I think not just because he beat Canelo, but because the way that he did it. The way that he did it makes people upset. Because, think about it. You can't argue that Canelo got robbed, that they took it from him. You just got to take that loss. That's it. You just got to accept it. Damn, my boy got beat up out there. Alex Olivares. I haven't seen hate to Crawford. I don't know that you're not on the internet or you just don't want to see it, man. Because every day there's people posted about Crawford ain't beat nobody. He ain't done nothing. He beat a messed up Errol. He beat every opponent that Crawford's ever beat. They try to knock him. Every single opponent that he beat. There's one reason. There's one thing that they have. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what to tell you, bro. I don't know what to tell you, Alex. He a fair winner, and it's an amazing boxer. And that's a fact. But there's people discrediting his every accomplishment every single day on social media. Every single day. Mr. KO, Canelo fans on some blackball shit. Yeah. He already been like blackballed by some fans that no matter what he does, they never gonna give him credit. That's it. It's crazy, but that's just the way that it went down. Mr. KO, they not giving him his flowers. Psh, man, listen. Look at this knockdown. Dolph Lundgren, Terence Crawford with Drago. Ivan Drago from Rocky Balboa, my peoples. So again, you see, look at him with Usyk right here. You see that if you follow Terence Crawford's career, look at him with Bomac. You will never find a video or a picture of an out of shape Terence Crawford. You won't find a picture of a fat Terence Crawford with a big gut. Look at Bud with Amir Khan. That's another opponent, Amir Khan, that Crawford beat, and they didn't give him no credit for it. It's like, bro, how this guy beat this dude, or a legitimate world champion. He wasn't a champion at the time, but a guy who's been a world champion, who's won titles in multiple divisions, who has noteworthy wins in his career. Crawford stops him and gets no credit for it. No credit. That's like insane. Rival 916. Oh, we easily predicted Crawford fight, boy. Love that fight. Hats off to Canelo, though. He's a warrior. That's 100% facts. Canelo Alvarez is a warrior, and I love the way that he took that L. He did it with grace. He didn't try to make excuses. He said, yo, the better guy won. He beat me. You know, I just couldn't go. I couldn't do it. So he accepted it. Alexis Olivares. Let's be honest. Most American fighters was tanked until the Canelo versus Crawford fight. Most Americans fighter was tanked until the Canelo versus Crawford fight. The most popular American fighter, I think you mean. That's true. That's true. You know, a lot of people were saying that Tank Davis was the face of boxing, but that changed. What we really have to do is be honest and accept that today Crawford is the face of boxing. It doesn't matter who it was before him. Mr. KO, he did the unthinkable. Hey, he could have knocked down Canelo too when he overcommitted. But they don't want to admit that. Man, listen. In round number 9, he could have went for the stoppage. But he played it smart, and that was the best thing to do, because at the end of the day, just because you dominated him doesn't mean you're not fighting. You're still fighting an all-time great. You're still in the ring with a pound-for-pound fighter. So, you know, he did what he had to do to win that fight. Exactly what he said. Alex Olivares. That's why he doesn't get enough love. I don't know where. He doesn't get enough love because he beat Canelo up, and because he beat Errol Spence up, and because there's people that's always pushing a narrative against him. So if you don't like him, you're already going to discredit everything he does. That's just what it is. Flip. The Errol Spence fans are still pissed at Crawford. Now they little red-headed leprechauns fans are pissed. That's the thing, that Errol Spence fans became Canelo fans. So now it's Canelo and Errol Spence fans and PBC fans and Tank Davis fans. They all going against Crawford. They all saying he's going to get knocked out. He's too small. Canelo's too big. Canelo's too strong. And then they got to watch him do it again. He broke your heart when he did it to Errol, and now he broke your heart again when he did it to Canelo. The hate is at an all-time high. The hate is at an all-time high for Terence Crawford. Mr. KO, especially back in 2023, after he TKO Ryan, one of the biggest pay-per-view gates. Oh no, but Tank Davis, you got to understand that when he fought with Ryan Garcia, the Tankomaniacs only attributed the pay-per-view numbers to him. And that was insane. Because if you think about it, Tank Davis had never done 1 million pay-per-views. And he didn't do 1 million pay-per-views after that fight. He never done it before. He never done it after. So it's like people just wanted to give him those numbers. You was in the ring with Ryan Garcia, bro. Ryan Garcia had a lot to do with those numbers. Because Tank average was about 300,000 pay-per-views, which that's a lot. That's still a lot. But 1 million, that's more than triple the numbers Tank Davis was doing. Come on now. Come on now. Rival. Tank was dope until he gave up the passion. when he didn't try and train hard against Roach, you can tell Tank was not the same fighter. He wants the money only now. Well, rival, I gotta tell you, the what you're saying about that he didn't train with Roach hard, I don't know how you came up with that. I've never seen anything anywhere to suggest that he didn't train hard against Roach. I think that you wanted to see him win, and the fact that he didn't look good, you're making an assumption that he didn't train hard. But by all accounts, Tank prepared, trained very hard for that fight, and he just got beat. When you say that he didn't train hard, without even knowing it, you hating on Roach because you're not giving him his credit for what he accomplished. What you're saying is that he didn't fight a guy that was, really training. But it's not true. It's like you're making it up out of thin air because it didn't go the way you thought. Mr. KO, Bud made me some more of a fan when he beat the shit out of Spence. I had Spence to win, but Crawford proved me wrong. Even though I got love for both, I picked Spence. Chastity counter reaction. Bud is very loved and respected. All these fighters have haters. Well, when you say Bud is very loved and respected, you have to put that into context because Crawford is very respected by the fighters. Crawford is very respected by the coaches and by everyone within the boxing community. But Chastity, if you say that he's very loved and respected all around amongst boxing fans, that would not be honest. Because Canelo fans, Tank Davis fans, PBC fans regularly bash Crawford, regularly on social media every single day. So yes, he is loved, but he's definitely not loved by Canelo fans. And he's definitely not loved by Tank Davis and PBC fans who are every day saying he didn't fight nobody. He didn't beat nobody. Errol Spence had, he wasn't the same. Canelo wasn't the same. Porter wasn't the same. Amir Khan wasn't the same. Apparently, nobody who Terence Crawford beat was the same. So come on now. We have to see that this guy, who is the face of boxing already, has done it against all odds. He's the guy that they say he don't sell pay-per-views, he don't put butts in seats, he don't do numbers. And look, against all odds. So, yeah, he is loved. But to say that, oh yeah, all these guys have haters, no. All these guys don't have haters like Terence Crawford. All these guys don't have an entire fan base that just be hating on them. All these guys don't have an entire fan base making up fake narratives about them. You know how many people been posting about Snack and about how Crawford is on steroids and about how he's cheating and about how he's doing something to win. The hate is crazy, Chastity, I promise you. Mr. KO, he did train for Roach. Of course he trained for Roach. The notion that he did not, that's taking away credit from Lamont Roach. That's a hate narrative. Come on now. Rival, he mentioned after the fight that he wasn't feeling it. Okay, so because he mentioned that he wasn't feeling it, you translated that into he didn't train well. You making a connection on your own, my brother. That's not a connection to me. Rival, nah, this is a fact. He talks about it later in interviews. Brother, I've been following Tank Davis just like you. He has never said that he didn't train well for that fight. Yes, he has talked about the passion and how he's not feeling it and how he's thinking about retirement. He's spoken about all of that. But brother, rival, if you say that Tank Davis' mouth, it came out of his mouth that he didn't train good for that fight, that will be cap. He has never said that. He has never said those words. Chastity counter reaction. But it's the standard, and that's why people are jealous. Trust me, people know how good he is. What's true is never glorified. And I agree with you 100%. People know how good Terence Crawford is. And you know what, Chastity? I would tell you that this whole hate, this whole narrative about Terence Crawford started when he moved up to the welterweight division. I want you to think about, the other side of the street phrase. We had never heard it. It did not exist before Terence Crawford moved to the welterweight division. There was no such thing as, oh no, we're in the other side of the street. But they invented that phrase specifically to freeze Crawford out. And then they started we making more money. He don't make no money. He not on pay-per-view. He not putting butts in seats. They started that narrative. And what happened with that? The PBC, when he moved up to the welterweight division, and it was evident that him and Errol Spence was on a collision course, guess what? The PBC fans, the Arrow fans, the Tank fans, they all started saying the same thing that Ellerby and them was saying. Oh, we the ones making money. He not making no money. These guys are putting butts in seats and they selling pay-per-views. Oh, Crawford, he ain't really beat nobody. He ain't done nothing. So that whole narrative started from the moment he got to the welterweight division. And they've kept spreading it till today. Right now, I could go in 3 different boxing groups and find posts from yesterday where they still saying, oh man, but who did he really beat? He didn't really beat nobody. Why? Because even though they do know about his greatness, Chassis T, but they continue to push a negative narrative around him. This dude was a great father. This dude take care of his family, take care of his household. Is lives a life of a role model, and then in the ring does nothing but win, and they still try to create fake narratives around him. Crazy, crazy stuff. Flip, but nobody knows what Tank did in camp except for his coaches. That's a fact. But why would we assume that he didn't do what he was supposed to do? Why? Because you don't want to give Lamar Roaches credit. That's why. You're so in love with Tank Davis that if he don't look great, you're like, nah, he didn't train. He didn't train. You just cannot accept that the guy in front of him was better that night. You need an excuse. And you make up an excuse out of thin air. It's as simple as that. Mr. KO, I even got love for the Charlo twins. I got love for the Charlo twins too, man. This has been like a PBC curse. I'll call it a PBC curse. If you think about it, the Charlo brothers, when they made a lot of money, little by little, you saw what happened. Their personal life went downhill. Errol made money, personal life went downhill. Sean Paul and Keith Thurman, they've been able to stay good. You see their personal life is good. The same thing with Thurman, injuries and all that, but he's good. But this fight is in PBC, man, that look at Broner, he's another one that, after they made a lot of money, they started partying, they started having a good time, and things just didn't play out the way they should have. Chassis T counter reaction. Just because they hate don't mean they don't watch. Everybody's hated. Jay-Z's hated, Beyonce's hated. These are some of the biggest stars in entertainment. They have haters big time. Oh no, they do have haters. And the bigger you get, the more haters you're gonna have. So Terence Crawford just became the face of boxing. He's gonna have a lot of haters. He's gonna have a lot more. They're gonna keep multiplying. Alex Olivares. Nah, bro, Canelo has mad haters too. Of course, my guy. It's like I said, if you're a superstar, you're going to have a lot of haters. But the difference is people find a narrative to hate on a fighter, right? So they'll say that Canelo beat washed opponents, or they'll say that Canelo's cherry picking, right? You can make an argument for those things, even though it's a hater argument. But you could say, for example, Kovalev was 40-something. You could say, oh, look, he was washed. Or you could say, look, he fought that Skull guy, or he fought this other guy, Yildirim, who wasn't nobody. To try to say that he a cherry picker, right? But with Terence Crawford, my peoples, what I'm trying to tell you is that the hate he gets is different because they make fake narratives about him. They're not making fake narratives about Canelo. They're just trying to break down his resume by diminishing his opponents. That's it. Simple as that. But with Crawford, how you going to say that this guy's on steroids? Never popped dirty, never been nothing. but you just make up out of thin air that he popped, that he on steroids. That's a different level of hate when you do that. When you start saying that he didn't beat nobody, that's a different level of hate. This guy beat a bunch of world champions. So with Terence Crawford, it's been a constant narrative building where they make up fake news just to have people not like them. Fake news? That is wicked work. What fake news have you heard about Canelo? What story have you heard that they materialized out of nowhere about Canelo? Yo, I want you guys to think about this. Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez was gonna fight, and they were saying that Crawford was on steroids. Meanwhile, Canelo Alvarez is the only one out of them two who popped dirty for steroids. So, if anybody should be suspicious, it should be him by normal logic. Come on now. Come on now. Let's be honest. How is it that Canelo popped dirty for steroids in the past? Crawford never been in any way, shape, or form even accused. And people were saying that he on steroids. Come on. Alex Olivares. All greats have haters. You're right 100%. But the haters don't always make up fake stories and fake narratives to hate. That's what makes Crawford unique. You guys ran with fake narratives when he was going to fight Canelo. You guys was posting about Victor Conti nonstop. Oh, look at Victor Conti. Victor Conti. Oh, Victor Conti. And Terence Crawford is with Victor Conti. I don't know what's going on over there. Trying to build a fake narrative about the guy cheating. Not accepting the guy's greatness. Bro, that's different. If you can't accept that Crawford get a different level of hate, I don't know what to tell you, bro. It's different. Rival, bro, I'm not gonna lie or make shit up. I only go off of the interviews. I would never lie. I love Roach. But bro, you're going off of the interviews, but you're taking what Tank Davis said that I'm not feeling it as if that means he didn't train hard. He never said that he didn't train hard, bro. In no interview, you will never find an interview when Tank Davis said, oh yeah, I didn't train hard for the Roach fight. You're not gonna find that, bro. You're gonna find that he was, whether it was disappointed with situation in his personal life, stuff like that. But not that he didn't train hard. He never said that, bro. So what interview are you going off of? Mr. KO, a Charlo name looks good on Crawford resume. I would like to see him fight Jermell Charlo, to be honest. Because they went back and forth on social media. They don't like each other. You could tell they don't like each other. That's a good fight to make. Chassis T, counter reaction. Trust me, I'm Buzz #1 fan. I'm out here, these YouTube streets. I know all these false narratives that are put out about him. But it's a machine, trust me. People love Buzz. No. I trust Cassie, I promise you. I know that. I mean, look here. When your star power is growing, just like you got haters, you're also gonna have. He has a lot more people who love him than the ones who hate on him. A lot more. And some of those who be hating on him on social media, they're his fans. They follow him on IG, be hitting the like, be checking out his stories, be watching, So it's people who put out narratives and they fans too, man. They really fans of the guy. Mr. KO. And before the interview, he said he gonna KO Roach in 9. Yeah, they missed that part. They missed the part where he said he was gonna knock out Lamar Roach. But whatever. I saw it myself. Alex Olivares, your prime at 37 is crazy. And he just turned 38. Today is Terence Crawford's 38th birthday. Chassis T, counter reaction. Oh, trust me, that the other side of the street thing is very phony and is part of the false narrative that was pushed about him, but has always made a lot of money. Of course. You got to remember, when he signed with Top Rank the first time, he signed for millions of dollars. And then when they wanted him to go to the PBC that he re-signed, he also re-signed for millions of dollars. Like, He's been making millions and millions of dollars for over 10 years. I've been trying to tell. Not only that he's been making all these millions of dollars. Guess what? Terence Crawford, you don't see him with a diamond chain collection and buying Ferraris and blowing his money on design. This guy invests his money. This guy owns property, building properties. Terence Crawford is not a guy. He could retire today and he's wealthy for the rest of his life. For Look at that. The Bo Mac and Bub Boxing Academy. This guy's wealthy for the rest of his life. But they've always tried to push that narrative. He ain't making money like that. He ain't putting butts in seats. He ain't selling pay-per-views. This dude got more money than most of them dudes. And he was making more money than most of them dudes. But they work hard to push that narrative. Listen, check this out, Chassis Counter Reaction. I have people recently telling me, yo, man, I hope Crawford could get a big payday before he retires. I'm like, bro, what the hell are you talking about? You hope he could get a good payday. Yeah, man, he deserves it. So even Cassie, even the in the closet haters, the ones who hate on Crawford, but they try to act like they showing him love. To me, those are the funniest ones. The ones that be like, yo, man, I hope Crawford could make some money, because he deserve it. Like, what are you talking about, bro? This dude is a millionaire and has been making millions for years. But it is what it is. They're going to try to keep pushing the narrative. And now that he's the face of boxing, forget about it. Forget about it. Chassis T, counter reaction. That's the first narrative that they want to push on you. When you don't bounce a boxing machine, they trying to ruin you. That's why I say Bud is loved, because there was a force behind him trying to stop him. How do you feel about Tank and Jake fight? Well, first of all, I'm gonna say, Chassis T, I could tell that you've been following Crawford for a very long time. You've been on it. You know everything that's going on. That machine that's been pushing against Crawford at every turn, it was tough to get past it. People don't realize that Crawford is here because he just kept fighting and just kept winning and just kept going. When he couldn't get the big names, he got the highest ranked opponent. He couldn't get Arrow. He got Mean Machine. He got this other guy. He fought guys that was the highest ranked opponents consistently. And Chassis T, I want to say, that's the thing that people don't realize, especially people who don't know shit about boxing. They just go by who's famous and who isn't. But if we consider Crawford's career for the last 10 plus years, because it's more than 10 years ago that he beat Gamboa, this guy has only fought champions, world champions, and highly ranked opponents. All of his opponents have been ranked in the top 5 within the sanctioning bodies. All of them. So he's not fighting bumps. He's not fighting guys with losing records. And yet they still hate on him. This guy made it all the way to the top the hard way. The hard way. Got there. Chassis T, counter reaction. How do you feel about Tank and Jake fight? So there are layers to that fight. The first thing I gotta tell you is that Tank is a fucking duck. He ducked Lamont Roach. The narrative about how Tank is just, going after the bag, chasing the bag, that's a false narrative. And I'm gonna tell you why. He could have fought Lamont Roach last month and still fought Jake Paul at the end of the year. He could have did that. That's an exhibition show that they do. He could have fought Lamont Roach on schedule and still went in with Jake Paul at the end of the year and got that big bag. But if they felt like Lamont Roach was going to cook him, then it's a good reason to duck that rematch, because the Jake Paul bag would have disappeared. So the first thing is, you duck Lamont Roach. No matter what anybody want to say, no matter how much you're going to get paid, they could give you $1 billion. You still duck. So that's the first thing I got to say, Chassis T. But If Tank Davis is really planning on retiring and that's gonna be his last fight, then that's it. Then that's checkmate for him. That's a career. He didn't fight none of the best. He didn't, put together a Hall of Fame resume, but he got the money. He retired, with generational wealth, if that's gonna be the case. So, from the aspect of a boxing fan, I say you're a duck, and I'm pissed. But from the aspect of somebody who's looking at it as a business, boxing is a business, checkmate. You got it, bro. You got the big payday without having to fight any other best. Salute to you. You played the game and won. Flip. Jay Smith. You know I rock with Tank Heavy, but I rock with Butt Heavy as well. I like a lot of boxers. I'm a fan of the sport, not a man fan. And I think that's the best way to follow the sport. Like, it's okay to be more of a fan of this fighter than you are of that fighter. What I don't like is when people feel like they need to diminish a fighter to uplift their own. You see Canelo fans say stuff like, well, Canelo got a better resume. Crawford ain't beat nobody. Why you gotta say that? Why you gotta disrespect him in order to praise Canelo? That's not necessary. You could praise both fighters. You can acknowledge that both fighters are great. And that's it. Because they both are great. It's just that Terrence Crawford is greater. Deal with it. That's all it is. Mr. KO. I fuck with Tank Heavy. I don't like the Jake Paul fight, but I understand his heart is not in boxing anymore, and he just want money. He don't want to fight. He don't want to fight Shakur or any other top fighters. See, that's it. That's it. I lost hope, my peoples. I lost hope. The hope that I had that Tank and Shakur was one day gonna mix it up. That's it. I'm done. I don't feel like that's gonna happen. If they surprise us, they surprise us. But I'm not dealing with the fake hope. Rival, homie, you're way off. That's a fact. I love Lamont Roach for one. Tank is a great fighter. I love the sport of boxing. You make it sound good, but you're way off with me. If you say so. Canelo whole team got popped for PEDs. Their cycle is different, so it can show less when they get tested. So look, that's what I didn't understand. If Canelo popped dirty, if his teammates have popped dirty, why would people start a narrative about how Terence Crawford supposedly is cheating? Why would you do that? Come on now, that don't even make no sense. That don't even make no sense, my peoples. And I see that there are those who are frustrated because Terence Crawford is the face of boxing. Let's accept it. Cassie T, counter reaction. Canelo definitely popped dirty twice. You can't you could say, oh no, he popped dirty, but what happened was, guess what? They tested the other sample. That shit was dirty too. Deal with it. You cannot point at Crawford. This guy's been clean his whole life. Rival. Tank manager talk about Tank's retirement before he fought Roach. Go watch it. And even say himself he wasn't feeling boxing anymore. Go watch the interview. But I don't understand, Rival. Why are you saying that? Because somebody's saying that he wasn't feeling it. To you, that means that he didn't train well. Did you understand, my brother, that discipline is when you don't want to do something, but you still do it? Discipline is when you don't want to get up in the morning to run, but you still get up in the morning and run because you have that discipline. So, Rival, you're not understanding what discipline is about. Just because he didn't want to do it doesn't mean that he didn't train well. I take it that maybe you never boxed a day in your life, so in your head you're thinking, oh, well, he wasn't feeling it, so he probably didn't train well. That's not how it works, my guy. Just because he wasn't feeling it doesn't mean that he wasn't in the gym going harder than ever. So, you got to stop trying to put together the puzzle in your own head how you feel that it happened. Tank Davis also told you that he was going to knock Lamont Roach out. Oops, but you missed that part, right? You missed that part. You decided to just make it up out of thin air. What you think Tank Davis was doing in training. Don't do that, bro. You never boxed a day in your life. That's why you think like that. Leave that to us. Us that been in there, taking punches, Leave those to us. We let you know how it really went down. Mr. KO, Crawford Smart, generational wealth. Gamboa, Mean Machine, Kelbrook, Spence, Canelo, Benavides, Posto, Khan, Jeff Horn, off the top of the head. My guy. And I've always maintained it. Terence Crawford is a guy that if he never stepped in the ring with Canelo and retired before that fight, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer already. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer already. Beating Canelo, now we just talking about the all-time greats at that point. I already got him in the top 10 right now. And I said it before, my peoples. Terence Crawford can do whatever he wants. I'm not pushing or I'm not saying you should fight this, you should fight that. I leave that to the haters. The haters already, Terence Crawford beat Canelo, and I think before he even did the post-fight interview, his haters was already saying, "Go fight Benavides, go fight Bones, go fight Usyk." They was angry already, getting him an opponent. This guy hasn't even talked after winning his biggest fight. So they gonna hate no matter what he does. But Terence Crawford can do whatever he wants according to me. If he chooses to go down to 160 and become undisputed again, now in the 4th division, Bud Crawford is going to be the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the history of boxing. If he does it in a 4th weight class, that's it. If Terence Crawford does it in a 4th weight class, now we're talking about #1 all time. We're not even talking about, because he's the face of boxing. This is Terence Crawford's era. There you have it, my peoples. I've been showing you, man, throughout Terence Crawford's career, you see that he's always in shape. You see that he's always ready. You see that he's, just ready to take people out, man. And the one thing I could tell you about Crawford, and I noticed that from early in his career, he's this guy who's such a nice guy. This is an example right here. He's such a nice guy. You always see him smiling. You always see him, joking around with his peoples, when he with his boys, when he with his friends and stuff like that. He likes to joke around. He likes to prank people. But Terence Crawford has like this switch. When it's go time, he has like a switch. And when he flick that switch, every single time around, Terence Crawford is the meanest guy in the room, regardless of how big that room is. It don't matter if it's 10 people. It don't matter if it's 10,000 people. He's the meanest guy in the room when he flipped that switch. Remember that time that when he was going to fight Arrow, somebody in Arrow's team was trying to talk shit while he was on stage? Like, what's up? You ain't about nothing. It was like, what's up? Y'all know me. I get active. You could see he turned that switch on. I was like, oh, man. They don't understand. So come on now. If you don't know, Terence Crawford is just different. He's been different, my peoples. Simple as that. And today, he turns 38 years old. There you got it, man. And I got to say, one of the reasons, man, why I have so much respect for Crawford, and I was talking with one of you guys about this, is that he really did it the hard way, man. Really had to grind for it. All odds against him. You're talking about the promotional companies not getting him the big fights. You're talking about the fans discrediting him. It's almost like at every turn, there was some type of negative spin around Terence Crawford to not give him that opportunity. Y'all remember when people used to say, well, why Arrow got to fight him? He didn't deserve that fight. He didn't earn a fight with Arrow. Who he beat? So it's like they've been pushing against him this whole time. They don't want him to get these opportunities. They didn't want him to fight the best. But he just kept going. That's what you call doing it the hard way, yo. Terence Crawford could have turned into an Adrian Broner. Why? Because when that fight with Errol wasn't happening and the PBC guys just kept fighting each other, he could have just started partying, drinking, getting in trouble, doing stupid things, and there you have it, his career goes downhill. But nah, my peoples, nah. Terence Crawford started, just kept winning, kept grinding, kept going hard. And there you have it. This is where he's at. Flip, J. Smith. You know I rock with Tank heavy, but I rock with Bud heavy as well. I'm a fan of the sport. Oh, I seen that. I don't know what you're pointing at, Mr. Flip. Mr. Ko, I respect your opinion. Chassis T, Canelo definitely popped dirty twice. That's a fact. That is a fact. Mr. Ko, go to David Benavidez' IG and look in the comments. Hey, Jay, look it up. In the comments of David Benavidez' IG, I'll check it out right now. Rashad, Canelo beats him in a rematch. I know you want to believe that. I understand you. I understand you want to believe it. But in the rematch, Canelo get beat up worse. Worse. He take a worse beating if he actually fight the rematch with Terence Crawford. So, I don't know. What comments are you asking me to look? Is it the last Benavidez post? I don't know what comment you guys are. Oh, okay. Just should have said that when Canelo was wasting time. John Hardy, fight Crawford, get your belts back. Oh my God. Look at that. People saying fight Crawford, get your belt back. They're asking Benavidez to go back down to 168. And the funny thing is that Crawford may not even stay at 168. He may actually go back down to 160. And I want to point something out to you guys so you can see how funny it is. The same people who were saying that Terence Crawford is way too small for Canelo and he's going to get knocked out, now they telling him to go fight Benavidez. Didn't you say he was too small at 168? Why would you want him to move up another division if he was too little in that one? You want him to fight somebody that's too big for him? Is that the case? Is that what it is? Because you say he was too small. You say he was too little at 168. So now you want him at 175, huh? Mr. Ko, they crying to David now, begging him to go back down. Why they have that energy towards Canelo? They said Crawford a welterweight. Okay, well, Canelo lost to a welterweight. That's it. You're right. Canelo lost to a welterweight. The thing is that after he whooped Canelo, they not saying that he a welterweight no more. They not saying that he was. They not saying that he was too little anymore. That's it. Now they want a 175 pounder to fight him when he was just too little, not too long ago. Again, my peoples, you see this is Terence Crawford's Instagram, and look, calling out Errol Spence, because y'all don't remember, he called out Errol Spence for a hot minute, and Terence Crawford did a masterful move that people didn't want to give him a credit for, and they didn't understand it. Remember when he went to BOK Prime? I had people telling me that was the worst business move ever. Crawford know nothing about business, because they always trying to paint a narrative around him, right? But then how did that play out? They tried to lowball him to fight Errol. He walked away, went to BOK Prime, got $10 million for a single fight, and then went back to the negotiating table, got a bigger payday versus Errol Spence, and whooped him. That was a masterclass in negotiations, because Crawford showed them, I don't need you. I could get a fight. They was trying to tell Crawford, well, you got to take whatever we give you. You don't got no other choice. This man went to BL King Prime, got a payday, came back to the negotiation table, and got a bigger payday and the biggest win of his career at the time. And still doesn't get credit for that. Come on now. Happy birthday to Terence Crawford. 38 years old today and currently the face of boxing. Look at this, my peoples. I'm telling you, there's, at this point, people who be hating on Crawford be looking goofy as hell. Because how can you hate on a guy that just keeps winning? Like, what's even your excuse to hate on him at this point? Flip. Catch you later, Jay. Keep talking your shit. Salute. Appreciate you dropping in, my brother. You already know what it is. Have a good one. There you go, my peoples. Terence Crawford, without a doubt, the face of boxing. You know, the greatest fighter of this era. We are living in the Terence Crawford era. You know, all he does is win. All he's been doing is winning. And if you follow him, if you've been following him, it's like I told you. There's no such thing as a picture of a fat Terence Crawford. There's no such thing as a video of a fat Terence Crawford. And that's part of the reason why he's such a great fighter, my peoples. That is part of it. Like I told you, imagine this. Imagine you are going to fight with somebody, you know, box somebody, and you got to lose 30 pounds to make weight. He got to lose 10, and he mad athletic, so he going to be on weight easily. And you, a week before the fight, you still trying to make weight. Who you think is going to spend more time working on their craft, working on their mechanics, while you sitting in that sauna, melting away, trying to lose that weight? Bud is working on his punch placement. He's working on the footwork. He's working on the counter punching. And you're over there trying to lose weight. It's different. This dude is always in shape, my people. And we saw what he did to Errol Spence. We saw how he got more hate than ever after that fight. And this is what we're seeing now versus Canelo Alvarez. But all Terence Crawford do is accomplish. Look at Bud and Shakur Stevenson. And that's the thing. Shakur Stevenson is now getting the hate that Terence Crawford gets. People see, you know, he's with Crawford. He trains with Crawford. They basically like family. So now Shakur Stevenson also gets some of that hate. And you guys see it on social media every day. Shakur Stevenson is doing the same thing as Crawford. He's winning. He's accomplishing. Winning titles in different divisions. Yeah, people hate on him. Look at Madrimov. Terence Crawford beat Madrimov, beat a reigning undefeated world champion, and still got hate because he didn't knock him out. Oh, he had trouble. He didn't dominate him. He couldn't stop him. It's like, bro, nobody dominates every single opponent that they fight. Nobody. Tank Davis didn't dominate Pitbull Cruz. Floyd Mayweather didn't dominate Maidana or Castillo in the first fight. He didn't dominate Oscar De La Hoya either. Come on now. A lot of fighters don't dominate everybody they face. Not a lot of fighters, nobody. Nobody dominates everybody. I need you guys to understand that. There you have it, my peoples. Terence Crawford, without a doubt, you know, one of the greatest fighters ever, the greatest fighter of this era. And check this out, man. 2.6 million followers. I'm going to tell you something funny. Before he fought Errol, I still remember that Crawford had around 800,000 followers. Right before he fought Errol, he had like 900,000 followers. And I told people, yo, when he beat Errol, which he's going to go over 1 million, which he did after that. And right now, before he fought Canelo, he wasn't at 2 million yet. He was like at 1.8, 1 point something, I can't remember. Boom, beats Canelo, look, 2.6 million followers. 40 million people No, over 40 million people watch Terence Crawford beat Canelo Alvarez on YouTube, on Netflix. So come on, my peoples. We have to respect the face of boxing. We have to acknowledge this guy accomplished greatness. Because let me tell you something. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, people are going to be talking about Terence Crawford. And what are you going to be saying? Are you going to be one of the people hating on him still? Like, oh yeah, but he didn't beat these guys back then. He didn't do this. Or you going to be one of the people that are going to be like, yeah, yo, he was that guy. I was wrong about him. I thought he wasn't, but he was it. So, again, my peoples, this live specifically, I wanted to do it to say congratulations to Terence Crawford, who made it to being the face of boxing against all odds, man. Terence Crawford's the underdog. He's the guy that wasn't supposed to get here. He's the guy that they try to push the narrative that he fights nobodies and that he's nobodies and that nobody wants to watch him and that, he even said it himself, this is for the nobodies. And that hit home to me, my peoples. That hit me hard because I'm a nobody. I'm somebody that people say, oh, he's a nobody. He's not doing anything. Nobody knows him. You guys know I don't have a large following. I'm not famous. I'm not known like that. So I'm a nobody. People have said, oh, you ain't nobody. Nobody knows you. Nobody rocks with you. So when he said that, this is for the nobodies, that hit me. I felt that like, damn, babe. If you work hard, if you got that talent and you push and you go, you're going to get to where you need to be. So if Terence Crawford had a whole machine working against him to keep him from getting to the top, and he still made it to the top, that just show you his greatness, man. At this point, there's no way to get around it. Terence Crawford is the greatest fighter of this era and one of the greatest fighters of all time. My peoples, I appreciate you tuning in. This is another episode of Box Center, your favorite boxers, favorite boxing show. Once again, Terence Crawford turns 38 years old today. The greatest of this era. This is the Bud Crawford era. So salute to him. And let's see what's next for the champ. I'm out of here, my peoples. One love to everybody who tuned in. And by the way, remember, Boxing for Breakfast will be live tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Do not miss it, my peoples. We're going to be talking that talk. I'm out of here, my peoples. One love to everybody. Bam.